Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. In this session, we'll be discussing from the 4th verse of the 12th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Suta Uvacha Apipalad Dharmarajaha Pitruvad Rajayan Prajaha Nisprahas Sarvakamebhyaha Krishna Padanu Sevaya. The meaning of this verse is, Sri Suta Goswami said, Emperor Yudhishthira administered generously to everyone during his reign. He was exactly like his father. He had no personal ambition and was freed from all sorts of sense gratification because of his continuous service unto the lotus feet of the Lord Sri Krishna. So, Suta Goswami is beginning to answer the point raised by Shaunaka Rishi on behalf of the sages of Naimisharanya. Srila Prabhupada explains this elaborately in the purport. As mentioned in our introduction, there is a need for the signs of Krishna in human society for all the suffering humanity of the world. And we simply request the leading personalities of all nations to take to the signs of Krishna for their own good, for the good of society, and for the good of all the people of the world. This is the vision of the acharya. Srila Prabhupada's vision is meant for doing good to the entire world. Acharyas come to this world on behalf of Krishna. Krishna's concern is every living entity in this material world who is suffering. Krishna's concern is all such suffering souls Krishna wants to deliver, wants to take back to his personal abode. So just like Krishna thinks of the entire world, every living being, similarly the acharyas, and in our present times Srila Prabhupada as the acharya, is thinking about the well-being of every living entity in this entire world. Therefore, he is suggesting, based on the Srimad Bhagavatam's recommendation, that everyone should simply take to the signs of Krishna. That will do them good. And if leaders simply participate in this attempt to distribute the signs of Krishna to everyone, then it will do good to the whole society, to the whole world, to everyone, all the people. So it is confirmed herein by the example of Maharaj Yudhishthira, the personality of goodness. In India, the people hanker after Rama Rajya because the personality of Godhead Lord Ramachandra was the ideal king, and all other kings or emperors in India controlled the destiny of the world for the prosperity of every living being who took birth on the earth. You see, Rama Rajya is important because Lord Ramachandra ruled in such a way that there was prosperity for every living being. And Srila Prabhupada now particularly explains the word praja. Herein, the word praja is significant. The etymological import of the word is that which is born, praja, that which is born. On the earth, there are many species of life, from aquatics up to the perfect human beings, and all are known as prajas. Praja doesn't mean only human beings. Praja means all living beings who take birth in this world. Lord Brahma, the creator of this particular universe, is known as the Prajapati because he is the grandfather of all who have taken birth. Thus, praja is used in a broader sense than it is now used. The king represents all living beings, the aquatics, the plants, trees, reptiles, birds, animals, and man. Every one of them is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, 4th verse. Sarva yonishu kaunteya aham bija pradapita. Krishna says, of all species of life, I am the seed-giving father. So, every living being is part and parcel of Supreme Lord. The king, being the representative of Supreme Lord, is duty bound to give proper protection to every one of them. This is not the case with the presidents and dictators of this demoralized system of administration in the present times, where the lower animals are given no protection, while the higher animals are given so-called protection. It's an animal society because people have become so degraded. They don't live according to the scriptural directions meant for a civilized human being. They are simply neglectful of the spiritual culture, and they live like animals. And the government is not really bothered about the real welfare of the people. Neither they give proper protection to the poor animals, the lower animals. So Srila Prabhupada says, this is a great science, how to give protection to all living beings based on the scriptural directions. This is a great science which can be learned only by one who knows the science of Krishna. By knowing the science of Krishna, one can become the most perfect man in the world, and unless one has knowledge in this science, all qualifications and doctorate diplomas acquired by academic education are spoiled and useless. Nowadays, people claim to have done so much advancement in different branches of science and technology, but they don't have any knowledge about the science of Krishna, and therefore all their other knowledge is useless. It results in defeat of the human birth, defeat of the entire civilization. Maharaj Yudhishthira knew this science of Krishna very well, for it is stated here that by continuous cultivation of this science, or by continuous cultivation of devotional service to Lord Krishna, he acquired the qualification of administering the state. So this is the necessity for the king or the governmental head to actually continuously cultivate this devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is not a sectarian process meant for some believers. No, it is meant for specially every human being. The father is sometimes seemingly cruel to the son, but that does not mean that the father has lost the qualification to be a father. A father is always a father because he always has the good of the son at the heart. The father wants every one of his sons to become a better man than himself. Therefore, a king like Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the personality of goodness, wanted everyone under his administration, especially human beings who have better developed consciousness, to become devotees of Lord Krishna, so that everyone can become free from the trifles of material existence. See the lofty thinking of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He wants to free all the people from their material suffering. He wants to make them completely free from material suffering. And for that, there is a definite process recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. His motto of administration was all good for the citizens. For as personified goodness, he knew perfectly well what is actually good for them. He conducted the administration on that principle and not on the Rakshasi demoniac principle of sense gratification. Modern day administrators, they rule the world based on giving sense gratification to the people, and that is demoniac. It makes people degraded, it makes people selfish, it makes people cruel, it makes people envious. So that is not the proper way to rule the world or the nation or the kingdom. As an ideal king, he had no personal ambition. Nispraha sarva kamebhyaha. Personally, he had no desire for material enjoyment. And there was no place for sense gratification because all his senses at all times were engaged in the loving service of the Supreme Lord, which includes the partial service to the living beings who form the parts and parcels of the complete whole. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj is serving the Supreme Lord Krishna, that means he is also engaged in serving the living beings who are part of Krishna. Those who are busy rendering service to the parts and parcels, leaving aside the whole, only spoil time and energy, as one does when watering the leaves of a tree without watering the root. This is the example given in the Bhagavatam. Yatha taror moola nishechanena tripyanti tat skanda bhujopashakha. As when watering the root of a very big tree, all the branches, the leaves, the twigs, every part of the other part of the tree is completely nourished by the watering the root of the tree. Exactly like that. When one renders service to Krishna, who is the complete whole, then all the parts and parcels, the living entities, they are automatically served by this one action of serving Krishna. If water is poured on the root of the tree, the leaves are enlivened perfectly and automatically. But if water is poured on the leaves only, the whole energy is spoiled. Maharaj Yudhishthira therefore was constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, and thus the parts and parcels of the Lord, the living beings under his careful administration, were perfectly attended with all comforts in this life and all progress in the next. That is the way of perfect management of state administration. See, not only this life, when Yudhishthira Maharaj is doing administration, their next life was also safeguarded. It is the best preparation for the people for the next life by rendering service to Lord in this life. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.